what dorm they're in, what floor they're in, and what room they're in. Critical information that we have to know right away.
Okay, okay. And how do colleges work with the city to coordinate emergency responses and safety plans? I know a lot has been done in our state in view of the Virginia Tech massacre. Chief Strickland, excuse me, how do you think that they're working together?
Quite well. I have a mutual aid agreement with the Raleigh Police Department. They provide me services that I don't have the assets at Meredith College to do some of the things. They have a special response team at Raleigh Police Department that's there to assist us, and all I have to do is just call them and say, I need you. They're there.
Okay, Chief Dolan, can you tell us a little bit more about your special response?
Well, what Chief Strickland does is by having a campus, company police or private service, whether it's Shaw, St. Aug, or Meredith, or Peace, having a security system in place is critically important because they are going to be the first ones that are going to assess a problem. They're going to be responding with us. In the case of Raleigh PD, we'll also be their first responders. We're coming, and they know that, but working closely with them is the key. And by having security, by having safety, they just do a whole host of responsibilities for the school because they're able to be problem solvers. They're able to troubleshoot. And when we're called in, it's usually, as you're discussing here, is going to be that critical incident. We have already policies in place and procedures for when we come to situations, tragically like active shooters, how we're going to get to the university. But the big point is what you mentioned earlier. Where is the incident? Has it been contained? Have we done all the things that we were trying to do to make it safe as possible for everyone? That's where the local security and safety comes in and plays such a big part because they're going to be the ones that are going to help us do the things that we need to do. In the case of NC State, again, is a different situation because they have a full-fledged police department throughout the campus where they're going to be first responders. We back them up, but it may get to a point where it's such a large event the university police may not be able to handle it without the support of the local police.
Okay. And Chief Yance, what are the two biggest things that you can think of to pass along to students to keep them safe?
Well, I think the number one issue on campuses, the number one crime on campus is theft. And most of the crimes that occur are crimes of opportunity. We see that quite often at NC State University. And people leave their property unattended. While that doesn't sound like a major emergency to an individual student who's just lost a semester of coursework, it is an emergency. So that's the number one issue that arises on campus. I guess the number two issue that people think about also is assaults. And looking at the assault pattern, really not only at NC State University, but across the country. Generally the victim knows the assailant. Alcohol is a factor. Either the victim or the assailant is under the influence of alcohol, or both. So alcohol is a major factor for college campuses across the country.
Okay, and I want to pose this question to both Chief Strickland and Chief Yance. In terms of campus crimes, do you find that it's mostly people on the campus or outside influences that cause the most problems?
Well, I think it varies with the crime. Probably theft, probably half of it comes from within campus, other half comes from outside of campus. In terms of assaults that occur on campus, it's between students, and students that know each other, and alcohol is a factor.
Wow. Chief Strickland?
I agree with Chief Yance. We're kind of a special college because we're fenced in, and by being fenced in, we can close the college down at any time we see fit in case of an emergency. Unlike NC State, it's just impossible to contain it over there like we can. But we really don't have that much crime on campus. It's usually as far as assaults are concerned, they're always off campus. I've only had one assault on campus in 11 years, and that was a student on a student.
Wow. Okay, so your statistics are pretty low, and you attribute that to the fact that you are self-contained almost.
Self-contained, and we have a very aggressive police and security department.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, so much for joining us today. You're giving wonderful information. Coming up on Shaw University Roundtable, two of the region's top journalists join us to talk about covering crime on campuses. But first,
do you know you can go online and check out crime stats for your university? I'm Rihanna Ruth, and I'll show you how on this episode of Shaw University's Roundtable.
One of the most powerful tools that students have to keep themselves safe does not involve weapons, but knowledge. Shaw University Roundtable reporter Ariana Ruth has more.
You know what the Clery Act is?
Nah, I don't know what the Clery Act is.
I have never heard of the Clery Act at all.
One of the more powerful tools of personal safety available to any college student is also apparently one that many students don't even know about. It's called the Jean Clery Disclosure of Campus Security Policy and Campus Crime Statistics Act, or the Clery Act for short. It requires colleges and universities across the country to disclose information about crime on and around their campuses. Schools which don't comply could put their financial aid program in jeopardy.
Me, personally, I think it's a good idea because you never know what could happen on campus and whatnot.
If you just put our crimes online, that'll ruin our reputation.
The Clery Act was named in memory of 19-year-old Lehigh University freshman Jean Ann Clery. She was raped and murdered while she slept in her dorm room in 1986. Her parents later found out that students hadn't been told about a number of violent crimes on the Lehigh campus in the 3 years before their daughter's murder and worked with Congress to pass the law. The U.S. Department of Education maintains a national database. We're able to find stats for all the area Raleigh colleges. Safety experts say while universities don't like their dirty laundry aired, knowledge is power, and that power is a very useful tool for students looking for ways to keep themselves safe. I'm Ariana Ruth, reporting for Shaw University's Roundtable.
To find out the crime stats on your campus, take a look at the Campus Security Data Analyst Cutting Tool. You can find it at www.ope.gov/security. We are now pleased to welcome two of the region's top journalists to the show. WRAL TV anchor and host of North Carolina Most Wanted, Gerald Owens, along with Jane Stansel, education reporter for the Raleigh News and Observer. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Thank you. Why do you think colleges are so reluctant to talk about crime, or is that even a fair question?
Well, I think it's a fair question. I think colleges are always concerned about their image, and if they are perceived to be a place where a lot of crime happens, then they know that parents and students will be reluctant to come there. So there is a natural reluctance, although I think since Virginia Tech there has been a lot more openness and a lot more willingness to share information because they know it's in this public safety interest.
And also campuses are in a community, and they're partners with the communities that surround them. And the last thing a campus wants to have, I'm sure, and campus leadership wants to have is this negative image as portraying the campus as being a problem in the community. Whether it's a car theft, whether it's a drive-by shooting, whatever it is, those things add up in the minds of some people in the community. So in a perfect world, everything works the way it's supposed to work. There is no crime on campus, but we know we don't live in a perfect world.
And make a case for why it's so important to report crimes that happen on campuses.
Well, for some of the same reasons. I mean, the community that surrounds the campus needs to know if there's an issue that affects the campus, it affects the community. There are parents who are sitting at home and they hear about a shooting on the campus of NC State University. Well, their first thought is, oh my goodness, is it my child? Is it someone my child knows? Is it affecting my child? That's my child's school. So the public at large has a vested interest in the safety of the campuses that are within it. So in that respect, the public needs to know what's going on.
I definitely agree with you, which is why I feel communities and campuses have to work together. Thank you. Do you think that journalists focus too much on crime? Some university reports say that journalists only report when bad things happen and good things happen with students, and excuse me, those are never reported. But the moment one of those things goes wrong, reporters come running. How do you respond to that?
Well, I spent 11 years covering education, and a very small percentage of my work was about crime. So, I reported a lot of things about universities. At the same time, if there were a safety issue, I considered it my duty to report it to the public. I didn't run and report every single stick-up, but I think that serious crimes and patterns of crimes need to be reported.
And responsible journalists, responsible organizations will look at what the crime is, who it affects, and is it really worth mentioning. In terms of campus crime, and we've seen whether it's Virginia Tech, Columbine, I mean, granted those are extreme, But there are issues that do affect the campus that the community at large needs to know, and that's when we get involved. People think